So everyone, last few wandering vlogs I've done have all been around downtown Montreal and old Montreal, but we're going to be going back to some of my roots. We're going to be doing a little walk around Rosemont and going to get some good brews with a fine supper. So stay tuned, we're going to be covering that on the Wandering Ukie Cheese Café today. Precious cortado. Yeah, if you remember my last wander that I did back when I was at the Valley Bistro, you remember that I explained exactly what a cortado is. It's like one shot espresso with one shot of warm milk to kind of balance out the bite. Almost similar to what you have with the allongé, which is like one shot of espresso, but a second shot, which is just water to kind of take out some of the bite. So, welcome to another edition of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Café, and I kind of realized that the last few wanders that I've done around Montreal have all been within downtown old Montreal, so I kind of wanted to take it back a little bit further away from that area. So I'm thinking of going back to Rosemont because you already know me. I got roots around there. I love that stuff. I feel like everywhere I go, there's going to be someplace new to discover. But obviously because I have, it's kind of cold today, I needed to take some shelter from the storm. So I ended up at Cafe Olimpico within Mile End. I've actually talked about this area countless times, and I might have showcased this place last year when I was doing a walk around Saint Laurent, but I've never actually had a chance to be inside and show it off until today. And it's one of those spots that's very busy to get into. There's usually a huge lineup around, and it's also one of those coffee shops that's open until like 11 p.m. So that's actually one of the benefits. If you're out and about, you had drinks, you want to stop up for somewhere for coffee after a while, you can just come here because it's actually open past 8 p.m. Hard to believe. And it's cool. And one thing I kind of like is just seeing all the flags of Italy all around here. So I got the Lazio province, which is where Rome is located. You got the Milan flag, Napoli, and a whole bunch of stuff. So it's kind of neat. It's like very, they take their football very seriously. And yes, I'm going to use the proper term, football, not soccer. This is like a good opportunity to just take some warmth before I make my way elsewhere. But before we do that, I'm going to suggest one more thing. click that subscribe button below. Give this video a thumbs up beforehand. That way, you get notifications that there's a new video ready on the channel. And if you push the like button, it's a way to promote it down the road. It'll end up in the recommended feed on YouTube. That algorithm, it pays off in dividends. Or whatever the equivalent is when it comes to footage on YouTube. Cheers. Well, that was a nice little coffee. So if ever you're in Mile End and you want to get a good, like a hot beverage, come over here because it's located on St. Viateur West, corner Waverly. It's awesome stuff. And actually, one thing I forgot to mention too is that they do have an amazing donut there that's filled with ricotta cheese. So if you're a fan of the cannoli, it's pretty much the same thing, just with a softer dough. Now, I've talked about being in Mile End in the past countless times because I've spent a lot of time around here. This coffee shop I've been to on my walk to Saint Laurent. I've been to the microbrewery called Ciboire, done plenty of wanders along Saint Laurent Boulevard. But my main point of reference for Mile End was from the past when I would come here to get some St. Viateur bagels. And actually, if you want to have that again, I'm putting a card on the top right corner for you to watch when I did a little visit almost 2 years ago actually, and did a comparison between the Fairmount bagels and St. Viateur ones, because those are the two best known Montreal style bagels. I guess I could kind of revisit that once again and then figure it out from there. But that will be a video for another day. We're going to get started on the rest of the wander. Lovely. Yeah, I love the fresh scent of bagels. Not fresh scent, I love the scent of fresh bagels. That was a little blunder I did. You walk in there, you can pick them out almost fresh from the oven and they're just amazing. Even plain without any butter on it. Now, if you ever do come here, just be warned, this is one of those places where you still need to get some cash to be able to buy it. They actually don't seem to accept debit or credit. Not as far as I can tell. I'll have to check again, but I'm pretty sure it's still cash only.
Girl, I want to provide for you and do all the things that you want me to, but oh no, don't bring me down. I'm begging you, darling. Oh no, don't bring me down.
Interesting. Passed by here maybe almost half a year ago, and I only discovered this now. It's called Bar Cola, which seems to be some cafe bistro. But the thing that caught my eye is that I see some old jazz vinyls like right outside on display in the window. Maybe one of these days if I want a coffee and I'm back here again, I should check it out. Yeah, finding these kind of vinyl cafes to bring me back to memories of seeing that vinyl bar that was over in Florence, Italy. Yep, sometimes it pays to be a tourist in your own city. Just when you think you've discovered everything, there's always something new. So I've now made my way onto Bernard Avenue. If I really wanted to, I could have come down here to go get some more donuts from Bernie's Donuts, but I'm gonna save that maybe for another time and do another showcase on the channel again. Actually, if I really wanted to, and I probably made reference to this on my last walk along Park Avenue, if I went to the opposite direction, like I could go west and explore Outremont, but I could save that for another day when I'm really more, I guess, eager to see that part of the city. If I go east, I'd be back to Saint Laurent as usual. So tell me about this. If you're following me and you have some ideas of what I could explore on Outremont, leave it in the comments section. Like, you kind of know what I enjoy. I like a good beef tartare, a good microbrew, coffee, bars that have a nice vibe to it, cute restaurants, you know, some kind of stuff.
All you cowboys and your neighbors, can you swallow up your pride? Take your guns off.
All right, walk north along Park Avenue until I reached Van Horn Avenue, or is it Boulevard? I'm gonna check and then put the correct one in post-production. So I'm gonna be going along east of here because eventually, like once I get past Saint Laurent Boulevard, then it's gonna become Rosemont Boulevard. So it's gonna be familiar territory for me. I'll admit, I actually did a little bit of research on the before coming here, because one thing I find that I enjoy doing is going on the map, looking at cities, and then seeing if there's any interesting bars, restaurants I can discover along the way too. And I happened to find 2 of them along the way because they gave me some good vlogging material. I'm not going to deny that. Sometimes I do research and think, is this going to make some good fermented cheese? As Dave in the comment section would say. Yeah, I forgot about that phrase, rancid path. He came up with that when I was doing my Halloween episode. It's like rancid because of my style of humor and psychopath combined together. Oh yeah, I guess if you want to check that out again, then click the link on the top right corner. You'll watch my Halloween episode when I was the rancid path. Yeah, this is kind of bringing back a few memories from the past. I think I ventured into Côte des Neiges / Outremont many aeons ago when I was either visiting my mom at work or on the hunt for some Jamaican patties. So I would take the bus and ride along here and then get to the Rosemont station. How I can remember that? Fuck if I know. People wonder how my memory works. This thing has been around for God knows how long. This storage warehouse or whatever it is, it's been abandoned for a while. It's apparently like a landmark within Mile End. One thing I remember they've been trying to talk about is converting these into fancy lofts or condos. Would that actually help? I don't know. Because the thing about this is that I feel like if you want to convert it to housing, you have to make it kind of affordable. Because you read about it all the time, like housing prices, if you're trying to buy, are out of reach. Rent, it's out of control too as a result of it. And don't get me started on the whole renoviction bullshit that I keep hearing about. You know, people gotta live. They need a roof under their heads. How can you do that if it's making it so tough? I'm sorry, I don't want to get on too much of a soapbox today. It's a long weekend. I want to just enjoy myself. Yeah, you're probably wondering, I'm having a long weekend? Well, here's the thing. Today is Family Day all across Canada except for Quebec, and it's Memorial Day in the US on Monday. But I'm kind of blessed that I work with a firm where, since we're kind of tied to the financials across Canada and the US, we get a day off because it's not like we can go to the office if we can't get anything done. Can't be productive, can we? Okay, one more thing. The water tower up here. Every time I get the Brouehaha de Montreal Van Horn beer, that thing is always on display over there. It's probably one of the better known water towers around this neck of the woods. Assuming there's such a thing as a famous water tower. Yeah, that one. Kind of worried that now, well, maybe, I don't know if you paint WB on this water tower, if the main characters from Animaniacs will pop out and cause mayhem for everyone. Yep, I'm now on one of my famous stomping grounds, Saint-Laurent Boulevard. Feels kind of strange to be on the same place, but from a higher perspective and just from a different angle. Nice. I have actually walked on this overpass in the past, and I think it was back when me and my brother were looking at some vintage clothing stores. We found one that was like around Bernard Avenue and checked it out, and then ended up to get some bagels down the road too, because Bernard is just one block north of Saint Viateur. So much interesting graffiti art around here. Assuming you could even call it graffiti, because some of the scale, size, and type of projects they have, I feel like it's really just street art that's been commissioned that they have all around. So those are pretty interesting. There's some actual graffiti I've seen around here, and every time I look at that, I always think, if it is graffiti, how the hell did some of these people get up to the top of those buildings? Because some of the spots I've seen them are pretty ridiculous. Anyways, that's a story for another day. I've now made my way a little further onto Rosemont Boulevard, and it's the corner of, okay, Saint Denis Street. Also familiar territory for me, which means I'm going to be getting kind of close to where I want to have my first drink. Stay tuned. And hopefully I don't trip along the way. I don't want to make an ass of myself on camera, more so than usual. The ancient smokestacks of Rosemont. At least if I was to listen to my can of beer, they're ancient. I actually had to look that up because on my can of beer, whenever I buy the Brouehaha de Montreal Normandville, they always showcase that smokestack here. But I had to look up what the deal was. It seemed like it's actually an old incinerator that existed from a long time ago. It's been abandoned and put out of commission for I don't know how long, but they still kept it up. Apparently the smokestacks are historical and they have to preserve it. I really don't know why. Like whatever was burning garbage, is that really worth preserving? I don't know. The Pierre Marquette Park. You got a pretty nice playground around here, large area for walking your dog. It's definitely a sizable park, although compared to Maisonneuve Park, it's got nothing on it. So I've said it before, Maisonneuve Park is one of the largest on the island of Montreal. But I'm actually curious because I might have showcased this place back when I was doing a wander around Rosemont around Boxing Day 2021, and I'll put a card in the top right corner for you to revisit that, because my style did change a little bit since then. Better equipment, better sound compared to then. But yeah, this school over here was my old Ukrainian school, in case you don't remember it. I remember that we used to come here like every Saturday, and well, it was for a couple of years, and we'd go for like 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. You go with the class. I try to figure out if I understood a little bit of Ukrainian. I could recite a few things and read it without understanding what I was reading. And you know, when I had a break, I'd come downstairs, there'd be Dunkin' Donuts waiting for me. Those are kind of fun times. Although I'm getting flashbacks to when I had Ukrainian school, then followed with First Communion practice on a Saturday, and then having to go to church for the Mass the next day on the Sunday. So yeah, there was a lot of travel from back in the day. Yeah, I think I'm getting close to where I'm gonna have my brew.
Hear you say life's taking you nowhere. Come up, baby. Look at that sky, life's begun. Nights are warm and the days are young. Come up, baby. There's my feet, they lost, that's all.
Looks very rustic, and I like it. So I made my way along Rosemont Boulevard and went south along Delorme Avenue and came to a place that's called the Brew Pub Brouehaha. Now, it's supposed to be a play on words because when you look around here, you see the word brew as in B-R-O-U-E. That's like a French term for like a brew place or having a microbrew. But Brouehaha in English is supposed to be like another euphemism for talking about commotion, ado, and etc. So it's a pun that really only makes sense if you're in Quebec. But I didn't think I would see a place like this over here. Delorme Avenue is a spot that I'm more than familiar with. But we used to drive with my dad to my grandmother's place. We would go along this avenue and then eventually make our way around Beaubien, so that's a bit how I'm familiar with that. And this spot, it's kind of neat. I see there's a lot of microbrewery beers that are on tap, and there's about 3 of them here which are made on the spot, so it's like their house beers. So I thought most of these other ones I've had before. I just want to see what can I get that I haven't tried yet. So I ordered the Coup de Soleil, which looks like this here. And this one is a white beer that's made with raspberry and cranberry. I know, I'm not usually a fruit beer guy, I have one friend who actually enjoys these kind of things, and she's the only reason that I drink these from time to time. But I thought most of these I already know. Some of them I have sitting in my fridge. The house beers, this is like the easiest one to drink, and something to have a light beer before I go for another one. So let's give you a toast. Cheers, everyone. Okay, not bad. I kind of tell with the color here that it almost makes it look like you're drinking cranberry juice. And if you're a fan of The Departed, you could probably think what line I'm thinking about now. Well, I guess that's also an appropriate trophy. I could cue some of that music, but I'm afraid I'm going to get my video blocked on YouTube if I play that. Prince's intellectual property is very protective. But yeah, super nice. And it almost kind of reminds me of that beer that I had at Christmas time, which was like a saison mixed with a bit of cranberry and some other fruit, so quite nice. And it's a white, so that's made out of wheat as opposed to barley. And typically, I've already mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. A white beer, you'll usually have orange peel added here for a bit of fruitiness, but sometimes you can put other ones and you'll get the job done. Good stuff. They got a pretty good whiskey selection over here, so I see some of the usual classics, like you would have your Buffalo Trace, your Maker's Mark if you're into bourbon. There's also some Ardbeg if you like super smoky, like cigar smoke kind of scotch. Bowmore, Lafray, Glenlivet, Auchentoshan, so it's pretty typical stuff. I'm sure you can get some good Irish ones, you could get some Canadian whiskey too. There's like a difference between the Canadian whiskey, Irish, bourbon, and Scotch. And I think one of these days I can cover on the channel to kind of explain that and say what the difference is and some of the processes that are a bit, that vary from a type to type. It's pretty neat. That's actually one of the things whenever I sit at a bar or visit a new place, I always think, what's their Scotch selection like? And that gives me an idea. Some places have some really killer selections. And actually, this is a weird thing I remembered seeing when I had to go to the washroom. The wallpaper over there was like all these panels of old Dragon Ball Z manga. So I never thought I'd see that around in a bar before. It's funny. It takes me back to my teenage years. I think I'm not a big manga anime follower, but I'm more than familiar with Dragon Ball Z. And I'm sure if you were my age, that was probably your first one. Or maybe if you go even further back, I think Sailor Moon was one of the first ones that came to America. I don't know. It just feels like it took a while before it caught on over here. Now you have these otakuthons, other conventions that embrace it. Who knows? So we're off to a bonus round over here. One benefit that I find whenever I'm at a microbrewery or a place that have microbrewery stuff is that you can actually get a 5-ounce glass, so you can kind of have a taste of a new beer without going overboard at times. So there's a lot of stuff which is so strong that I would never get a full pint of it, because if I wanted to make sure I ration it properly, I'd be here for like maybe 5 hours just to get it down. But luckily there's one here that I had that I was told about a while back. It's something from Dieu du Ciel. And this one is called Perche Mortelle, translated to Deadly Hunt. I don't know, I figured if you're hunting, it's going to be deadly no matter what. It feels like it's I'm going to be picking apart some grammar. So the reason I picked this one out is because my aunt had told me that, actually it was Aunt Sonia, if she's watching this, so this one's for you. She mentioned that she tried this one a while back and it was pretty good, so I figured I should give it a shot. It's an Imperial Stout. Now this is not the kind of beer that I would usually do on my own, because whenever you look at Imperial Stouts, you're not talking like Galactic Empire, like Star Wars territory, just they're pretty strong. You're looking at 9 to sometimes 11%. This one here is like 9.5%, so it's definitely not an abusing one, but it's supposed to have like a stronger Kenya coffee flavor. Coffee is a pretty typical flavor you get in these kind of stouts. So we're gonna see what this one is like quickly, and then I'll make my way elsewhere. Oh, let's be polite. Cheers. Okay, so you can definitely taste the coffee, almost like you're having a shot of espresso. It's very smooth, like a very silky texture, but you can also taste the strength in here. 9.5%, yeah, you're gonna feel it if you do too much of this. I'm gonna take my time with that. Cafe Les Torches. Yeah, that spot I'm more than familiar with, except I knew about the one that was on Mount Royal Avenue East. I did hear about the one along Rosemont Boulevard, so I kind of know where it is, and maybe one of these days I'll check it out to see how different it is from the other one. I'm pretty sure it has a very similar selection of brews on tap, like New England IPA from Saint-Ambroise, maybe Laurent Cid, and etc. So pretty awesome visit over there, and I'm going to be making my way to a different stop along the way. I don't know what I'm going to have for supper, depends on what's on the selection, but as in terms of brews, I kind of have an idea in mind. You know, we'll see what we do. Kind of funny. Taverne Les Torches, I knew about that, but I passed by here a few times and never noticed it until today. It's like I keep saying, you walk along the same streets, you kind of discover something new all the time, and sometimes repeating the same place. Okay, it's quite nice. So I read about the spot earlier and I thought I have to give it a check out. It's a place that's called Le Rosemont, and they always say it's like sur Rosemont, dans Rosemont. So it's like on Rosemont Boulevard in Rosemont, and it's called Le Rosemont. So this is kind of like the restaurant equivalent to having a song that's named after your band on your self-titled album. Like, perfect example I could think of, there's a song Black Sabbath by the band Black Sabbath off the album Black Sabbath. It's the same thing for, let's say, Iron Maiden, Bad Company, and I'm probably thinking of, there's probably a lot of other examples out there I'm not remembering now, so if any of you music nerds out there want to tell me about it, leave it in the comments section. But I thought it was kind of neat. Saw this, I thought there's no way I couldn't check it out. And of course I always am curious to see what kind of brews they have on tap. From what I remember when I did some research, I saw that a lot of the brews are from McAlslin and RJ. So RJ, you're gonna have like Cheval Blanc, there's also Belle Gueule. That I know because I remembered further up on Christophe Colomb, you're gonna find the Belle Gueule beer garden along with the RJ Brewer, which is only open during the week. I think I'm gonna check that out one of these days. And then McAlslin, that's basically what does Moosehead distribution over here, along with Saint-Ambroise. Saint-Ambroise I'm more than familiar with because if you go close to, I'm gonna guess like Saint-Henri, Point St. Charles, like that general area, the brewer's there and they have an amazing terrace that's right by the Lachine Canal. I'm gonna give that a visit over the summer because there's no way I can't document that, you know, because it's such a beautiful spot. But whenever I'm looking around, I look at what kind of brews I can try out that I haven't showcased on the channel. You already know my taste. I love me a New England IPA, but there's only so many of them I can discover and showcase here. So I decided to go for something a little bit different. This one is from, hang on, I have to look up where this is from. We'll be right back. And we're back. So the name of the brewer is Champ Libre. I've had a few of their stuff before, but I wouldn't be able to tell you right off the bat what it is. But I'll admit, I got this just because of the name. This one is called Pas le temps pour les regrets. So That's French, but if you translate it to English, it's saying there's no time for regrets, which is kind of ironic considering that I'm saying that there's no time for regrets while I'm sitting in a bar alone drinking a beer. So yeah, that hasn't been lost on me. And this one I got mostly because of the name, and also especially because of, you know, what kind of ingredients it is. So essentially, what this one is a saison, almost like a farmhouse ale, and it says it's like a sour one or a griotte. I don't know, you're probably like me and you're thinking, what the heck is a griotte? I had to do my research on this one so I could figure out exactly what the heck it is. So first thing I saw on Wikipedia or on Google was that griotte is a term for like a cherry red marble or limestone, which kind of made me think it is a little bit odd because limestone and beer doesn't make much sense. But there's actually a deeper meaning to that. Griotte is a French term for like a Morello-style cherry, which is mostly distinguished because it has a very dark red flesh, dark red juice. And this is actually the funny thing. The earliest kind of origin I could think of that was Griotte de Cléparo, and it comes from Lviv. Lviv is a city in Ukraine, which is actually appropriate enough considering that in my location right now, I'm close to Iberville, Rosemont, so I'm not too far from the Ukrainian community within the Rosemont here too. I guess it's just a coincidence, but it is what it is. So Griotte de Cléparo is what it would be in French, but then if I looked up in Ukrainian, what's it like? Chereka Kleparivska. Yeah, I haven't spoken Ukrainian since the last 20 years, so I'm not really sure what that's like. But all that background information is just enough to give me a taste test of this. So, cheers everyone. Let's see what this one's like. Okay, a sour cherry beer. It's quite good if you like to have sour beers, and it only barely tastes like a countertop, you know. Yeah, I know. I make bad jokes. And also, I didn't want to have a good beer without having some kind of a thing on the side. So I got myself a little plate of olives, which is like a tapas. Every time I have olives with a beer, it kind of makes me think back to my vacation in Spain. Because here's the thing, I've talked about it before, but I'm always going to repeat it too. You go to Spain, you go to a terrace, you go to a restaurant, you want to just sit down and have a drink, what they're going to do is they'll just bring you this side dish to munch on while you're having that. So it's going to be like a plate of olives, maybe a bowl of chips. If you stick around longer, it could be like chorizo sausage, maybe chunks of cheese dripped in oil, and stuff like that. So these kind of olives, they're everywhere there. And it's a good way to have something to eat, so you don't get too crazy with your beer too. And it makes an awesome appetizer before you're going to be getting to the main meal.
That's why they call me bad company, and I can't deny. Bad company till the day I die. Till the day I die.
Okay, this is not bad at all. I'm gonna admit, I'm not usually a fan of fruity beers, sour beers, but on occasion I will indulge in it because I know I have some friends that are big fans of these, and it's like a way for them to see what I'm trying out and give them some ideas of new beers they can try out from time to time. It's a small price to pay, and also for good vlogging material. I'm telling you, every time I'm in Rosemont, I find something new to discover. And funny enough, I do remember another place that's pretty close by to here. Like maybe, I would say a block or two south is Ma Brasserie, which I visited last year for Saint Jean. And they had a really cozy atmosphere on the outside, some good brews I had. I remember I had a Scotch ale, a session IPA, and etc. So it feels like these microbrewers are really commonplace around here. It gives me a reason to come back. And who knows, maybe there's other stuff that I've missed out on too. But regardless, I got my meal all set to go because my olives are done. I'm going to be doing a pizza. And I know you're thinking, pizza? Out and about? Well, there's a reason for it, and we'll get to that in a second. Delicious. Yep, I went for a pizza tonight. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you kind of know my rule of thumb. I don't normally order things if I'm out and about, if I know how to make them pretty well at home. And you know, my pizza, it comes out like pizzeria style pizza, but not at the same kind of price you pay over there. And well, in case you want, I'm gonna give you a link to the top right corner to watch, because you get to see how I make a pizza from start to finish. And for an added bonus, I do make it on the barbecue. But nevertheless, from time to time, I will order a pizza if I'm at a restaurant, if it especially has some kind of ingredients I never would make at home. Plus, sometimes, like in Little Italy, oh yeah, my Little Italy vlog, top right corner once again, did that last summer too, because sometimes I would go out for a pizza and I have that. It just brings me back memories of when I was in Italy, having some pizzas fresh from the oven over there. Such good stuff. So what I got today is one that's made out of prosciutto, and they have like Roquefort with Parmesan, mozzarella obviously, tomato, and arugula. So most of those things kind of make sense except for Roquefort. I had to look that up too because I wasn't too familiar with that cheese. Roquefort is a type of cheese that you can find in the south of France, and it is actually a type of blue cheese. Now, if you know about the process of blue cheese, you might be kind of grossed out with it, but from time to time it's not too bad. All depends on how you prepare it. And prosciutto, well, prosciutto is basically the Italian version of jamon serrano if you're in Spain, and I think they're prepared in a very similar fashion. Basically, you take like the pig's leg, you dunk it in a vat of salt, and then what happens is that the salt is going to draw out the moisture that's in the meat, and then it helps to kind of cure it or kind of cook it in a way by drying it up. So that's kind of how it works. Big difference is that I think jamon serrano, like Spanish ham, is going to be a little less salty, but you know, I could be wrong. Anyone knows about this in the comment section, feel free to tell me about it. And yes, this pizza actually comes with a pizza cutter too, to make it easier. Most places I've been to actually, you know, cut the pizzas from scratch first. So it's a first time for everything. There we go. So I'm just slicing this up. You might have to give a few passes too before you go through the dough. Okay, this is quite nice. Like, prosciutto, you already know what I think about it. It's bloody awesome. Parmesan, mozzarella, pretty good. Roquefort, honestly, if it's there, I can't really taste it because it blends really well with the other cheeses and all the ingredients. So I'm more than okay with that. Yeah, it's a new ingredient I could add to my palate now. Again, if you're not a fan of blue cheeses or you can't get past the idea of blue cheese, this may not be for you, but if you are a fan of it, I'd highly recommend it because it's just plain awesome. And yes, you got plenty of arugula and tomatoes on here, so it's like you have your pizza and then you have a salad dumped right on top of it for maximum vitamins, minerals, and nutrients too. Awesomeness. That was a really delicious pizza. Once again, I wasn't used to Roquefort cheese, but when it's blended in with Parmesan and mozzarella, it gives a really nice flavor, and it helps you forget the fact that you're technically eating blue, slightly moldy cheese, which for some people is an art form. I'm okay with that because it was all very tasty. So it's definitely highly recommended. Oh yes, and I did get a refill for myself. Because I was doing a couple of fruity beers to showcase, because I haven't done those on the channel as much, wanted to try something different. I had to do something kind of normal so I could bring myself back to reality, and also to give myself a little bit of credibility again. I got the St. Ambroise New England IPA. Yeah, I was talking about the McAllister brewer that's over on the Lachine Canal, and I'm finishing with that. Like I said, one of these days, I'm going to be giving it a visit and showcasing it over the summer. Oh wait, what am I saying? How can I have a good beer if I'm not cheersing you all? Yeah, it was kind of funny that the other beer that I had that had the cherry flavor somehow tied to origins of Ukraine, which, like I said, is so close to the Ukrainian community over here that I never would have guessed. I'm pretty sure it's like a coincidence. Funny thing is that I'm on the Rosemont Boulevard, and I know that my mom told me about shops that used to exist back in the day, and I have a very vague memory of going into one shop when I was a kid that sold like Ukrainian decor, kitchenware, and accessories. It was like in the basement along the Rosemont Boulevard. It doesn't exist anymore because from what I've heard, a lot of the older generation have passed on, and some of their kids, grandkids didn't want to take on the old art. So unfortunately, that didn't get passed on. Things like the embroidered stuff I have at home, the wood carved crosses I have hanging on my wall in my sister's house, those are like things of the past. I don't know if it's going to be picked up on, but the other part of me is wondering, like, maybe with the number of Ukrainian refugees that came over here because of obvious reasons, maybe they're going to stick around here, and there could be a chance they'll open up shops, maybe keep some of the art alive, like revisit old traditions that kind of got lost over time over here. I don't know. It's just some food for thought given what we're living through now. What else can I say? It's a good brew, well, good couple of brews, excellent pizza, solid tapas, and a solid episode that was mostly improvised along the way, except for the 2 spots I wanted to visit. So pretty nice way to work on the long weekend. I'm probably going to get some coffee before I hit the road, Jack. But before I do that, I'm going to thank you all for watching this latest edition of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Café. And once again, if you like what you see, just be sure to click that subscribe button below. Give me a thumbs up too if you like my antics, my storytelling, my visits around Montreal, or acting like I'm a tourist in my own city of all things. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, like a recipe I could do at home, maybe a beer I can showcase on the channel, an area of Montreal I could visit too that you want to see, let me know, and I'll try to integrate it down the road with my other ideas. Till then, take care. Hope you have a safe, happy weekend. Delicious. Yep, blue cheese is such a thing of beauty. Once you get past the bold factor, obviously. Great stuff. Yeah, I know I played this tune before, but I'm going to suggest it again. DJ, cue some Talking Heads.